So here's a question for you. How does a name that literally means light bringer become synonymous with the Prince of Darkness? It's one of the great paradoxes in Western culture, right? Well, it's a wild story of mistaken identity, a few crucial mistranslations, and some powerful myth-making that stretches across thousands of years.
Eliphas Levi really hit the nail on the head there. It is a strange name for darkness. So let's dive into this. We're going to trace the biography of this name, and you'll see how it goes from being just a star in the sky to one of the most powerful and honestly contested symbols in all of human history. All right, first things first. Before Lucifer was a person, real or imagined, it wasn't a he at all. It was a what? It was a phenomenon, a simple, beautiful astronomical event that pretty much everyone on Earth could see. The name's origin is actually super straightforward. In Latin, lux means light, and fere means to bring. Put them together, you get Lucifer, the light bringer. For the Romans, this was just the common, everyday name for the planet Venus when it would rise before the sun, that brilliant star that told you dawn was on its way. And what's really fascinating is this wasn't just a Roman thing, not by a long shot. The Greeks called it phosphoros, which means the exact same thing. From ancient Egypt to Old English, cultures all over the world had a name for this bright messenger of the morning. It was a universal symbol. And when this star did get a personality in Roman mythology, he was kind of a bit player, a minor figure. He was the son of Aurora, the goddess of the dawn, and his only job was to run ahead of her with a torch to let everyone know she was coming. He was a symbol of order and beauty, not some cosmic rebel. So, if he starts out as this beautiful, harmless symbol, how do we get from that to, well, the devil? The whole transformation begins not with some epic battle in the heavens, but with a single misunderstood line of political poetry. This is it, the single verse from the book of Isaiah that started it all. The original Hebrew reads, Hillel ben Shahar, which translates to Shining One, Son of the Dawn. Now here's the absolute key. This is a poetic title, an epithet. It is not a proper name. And the context? It has absolutely nothing to do with an angel. You have to understand, the prophet Isaiah was delivering a masterful political insult, a mashal. This was a taunt aimed at the very human, very arrogant king of Babylon. To mock the king's pride, Isaiah borrowed a story that everyone at the time would have known, a local Canaanite myth about a minor god who tried to take over the main god's throne and failed miserably. It was basically ancient world trash talk, calling the king a pathetic wannabe whose ambition was going to land him in the grave. Sheol, not hell. So how did this poetic insult become a person? It's like a game of telephone over centuries. The Hebrew epithet was translated correctly into Greek as Hieosphoros, and then into Latin as Lucifer, both just meaning morning star. It was a common noun. But then, in 1611, the translators of the King James Bible made one tiny but fateful change. They capitalized the L. And just like that, a metaphor became a proper name. A new character was literally born from a capital letter. Okay, so now the name Lucifer is seemingly in the Bible. And for early Christian theologians, this was like a godsend. It helped them answer one of the biggest, most difficult questions they had. If God is all good and all-powerful, where on earth did evil come from? They essentially became master storytellers, creating a composite character for the devil. They did it by stitching together three completely separate, totally unrelated passages. They took the fall from heaven from Isaiah's taunt, they connected it to a line from Jesus about seeing Satan fall like lightning, and then they patched in the backstory of a beautiful, prideful angel from another political taunt aimed at a different king in the book of Ezekiel. They built a seamless origin story that doesn't actually exist in any one place in the Bible. So theology built a skeleton, but it was literature that gave this character flesh and blood. You had Dante, who imagined Lucifer as this horrifying, monstrous beast, frozen and powerless at the center of hell, a symbol that evil is ultimately empty and stupid. But then came John Milton's Paradise Lost, and he gave us the Lucifer we really think of today. The charismatic, tragic, magnificent anti-hero who famously declares, "Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven." But it is so important to remember that this grand, rebellious Christian figure is just one version of the story, and it stands in total contrast to other traditions, especially the one it originally borrowed from, Judaism. See, in the Hebrew Bible, there is no devil. There is Ha-Satan. And that little ha at the beginning is everything.
It means the. This isn't a name, it's a job title. It means the adversary or maybe the prosecutor. This being isn't a rival to God, he works for God. He's part of the heavenly court, kind of like a celestial prosecuting attorney, whose job is to test humanity's faith, and he can't do a thing without God's permission. This table just lays it out perfectly. In Jewish theology, angels don't have free will, so they can't rebel in the first place. The Christian character of a fallen king ruling an empire of evil is completely theologically incompatible with the Jewish concept of ha-Satan. They are two fundamentally different beings. Now get ready for a total 180. The ancient Gnostics looked at the world and thought, this place is kind of a mess. They saw it as a flawed prison created not by a perfect God, but by a lesser, arrogant being they called the demiurge. And this leads to a pretty radical question. If the God who created this world is a tyrant, what does that make the one who rebels against him? It makes him a hero, a savior even. In this view, the serpent in the Garden of Eden wasn't a tempter. He was a liberator, offering the secret knowledge, the gnosis, that people needed to escape their material prison. And all of a sudden, the name Lucifer is restored to its original meaning. He is the light bringer again, but now in a spiritual sense, the champion of enlightenment against a controlling, dogmatic power. So what have we seen on this journey? It's been a complete metamorphosis, right? We've watched a simple point of light in the morning sky get twisted, translated, and transformed into one of the most complex and powerful symbols in the entire Western world. I mean, just look at the journey. It goes from a simple astronomical fact to a clever literary insult to a theological explanation for evil to a magnificent tragic hero, and finally to a philosophical symbol of liberation. This name has been constantly reforged in the fires of human imagination. Ultimately, the story of Lucifer is less about some guy with horns and a pitchfork, and much, much more about us. The name has become this giant screen onto which we project all of our deepest ideas, our feelings about authority, our thirst for knowledge, our definition of freedom, and our fear of evil. So it leaves us with a powerful question to think about. After seeing this whole journey, what does your own interpretation of the Lightbringer say about what you value most? Is it obedience or is it knowledge? And why this all matters is that it proves our most powerful myths are never set in stone. They're living, breathing stories that we keep shaping and reshaping. And in the end, they reveal a lot less about the past and a whole lot more about who we are right now.